Hello, welcome back to the Double Swing. This is going to be a 9 Katowice preview, but we do have some caveats to throw in just before we get into it. This is 1:22 right now, 1:22 British time, on Saturday, meaning that there are two games currently very much ongoing for Katowice itself that we have to... Well, we're not going to pretend they aren't happening, because they are. We're looking at them. But we're also just going to be real, like, they will definitely factor in to what we say, what we pick, and some of our reasoning. So that's just the nature of this. We want to win. To recap what we've done so far, to be blunt, I have entirely forgotten what I picked for the first event we previewed of the year.
I have it in front of me, so I can.
Oh, perfect. So,
I can do that
how
for you.
disastrously did it go for me?
So you had the audacity to pick Heroic in the opening round, and they bombed out. They were your underdog pick.
Oh, no, I'm going all the way back to Blast Bounty here, because we haven't even recapped that yet.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, if you're going all the way that far
Remember,
back,
we recorded twice before any event had actually played out.
Included, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so
true.
That's what I'm trying to think of. Because, yes, I did pick Kato play-in. An interesting pick in Heroic. I think a tasteful one. I thought it was a good idea.
Right, so
Clearly
for Blast Bounty, you had what? Vitality, Eternal Fire.
Okay, that was a banger.
Dust had Navi Pain, and I had Spirit and Heroic.
Okay, so we all had teams that knocked each other out. Yes, I remember you messaged me about that.
Yeah.
Yes, and the Eternal Fire pick ended up being amazing. Underdog made the final. Love that. And so for me, I'm very happy. You had Spirit, didn't you? So
yes,
you get the winner's bonus as well. So we got the same number of points out of that. And Dust, who's his underdog?
He had Pain and for an underdog, and then Navi as a favorite.
And Navi eliminated Pain, meaning he gets no points because his favorite didn't even make the final.
Yep.
Tragic. Brutal, savage, wrecked. But okay, speaking of brutal, savage, wrecked, I got absolutely fucking annihilated by Heroic deciding that, for the final series that they need to win to play at Katowice main event, they are just going to get utterly pounded by 5 Germans, which,
it's great for me.
It's very, very disappointing for someone like me who believed in them. For you, it was beautiful, but if you have the picks in front of you, would you mind just hit the highlights, I guess?
So your hits were Astralis and Virtus.pro, making it through as your favorites. Trav, our guest, had 3 hits with Eternal Fire, Furia, and GamerLegion. And
both his favorites made it. God damn.
Yeah. And I had only just Liquid and Big, who both made it through in like the lower bracket side of the qualifications, but they made it. So
yes, I was left with the final pick of the entire draft. So don't think I wanted complexity, lads. If you go back and take a look, as I explained, I thought there was no chance Saw and Imperial FE do better than complexity. So that's why that came out, and honestly, kind of nailed it in that sense. I think the one big miss we had is, I guess, well, both my favorites went through, both his favorites went through. You Pain for 3D Max, I guess, would have been your go-to if you had to go back and do it again. But that's not an easy pick to make given the form of Pain, is it?
And also, 3D Max are just one of those teams where like they have stagnated over several months, and so it's kind of hard to gauge where they're at. And ultimately they beat FlyQuest at MIBR, which is I actually rated FlyQuest quite highly. I think MIBR has potential, but they're both going through growing pains. The 3D Max don't have to deal with that in the same way.
Yeah, and they do have that sort of all French capacity for excellence and tragedy. It's very poetic sometimes how 3D Max can perform, and currently are they about to go up a map against Vitality? No, it's OT. Goddamn. Okay, I saw it at 12-11. I thought maybe they're going to edge it through, but no. Overtime it is. But that's the sort of roundup. Now, no guest and no real time for any viewer polls. So viewers, pat yourselves on the back. You got a perfect score for this one. We can't really do much about that. It'd be unfair to just give you a 0, seeing as we gave you no chance. So you get a perfect 4 for 4. Oh my god.
That'll put us behind.
We are behind now, but it's fine. I mean, the viewers were leading the entirety of last season, pretty much, the viewers/guests, until the very last moment where yours truly managed to actually pull off a comeback. So hopefully I can repeat the same feat. Before we get into that, I do have a question for all of you. Are you tired of looking like a chump in game? Sick of opening cases and getting trash skins? Check out Skin Club via my link in the description for a 7% deposit bonus. For gamers 18 or older, Skin Club is a case opening service who run a provably fair opening algorithm to give you truly random outcomes. Skin Club's battles mode has been upgraded, adding new things like crazy, team, and share modes just to make every roll a little more intense and a little more fun. I played a battle or two and managed to win some pretty crazy skins and upgraded a group of them into a gorgeous MP9 hot rod. Perfect for some gold stickers. There is also a dragon event going on right now, so you can earn event points just by playing on the site. These points can be redeemed for cases, skins, and entries into huge giveaways. Skin Club accept a wide variety of payment methods from cards and PayPal to skins themselves, as well as a range of crypto coins. Remember to play responsibly using the self-care tools provided, and use my link in the description to get a 7% bonus. A big thank you to Skin Club for supporting my channel. And we're back. Okay, Yumi, you do have the... I think I'm going to let you decide if you want first pick or second pick on this, because technically we've kind of alternated between the two videos who's been stuck with the what we consider the least advantageous positions. I'm going to let you decide as our 1v1s get started for the year. I'm not sure how many there will be, but for now, take your pick. First or second?
If you're going to give me first pick, I'll take first pick. And
if you want first pick, have it, yeah.
I'm just going to lead with what's been serving me well already at the start of this year. I'm going to go back with Spirit. You know, them returning as the IEM Katowice current champions and trying to defend their throne, having a good start to the year with Blast Bounty. And, you know, I just find it hard to find a flaw in this team at the moment when you have, I think, Magix is maybe not in prime major final form as we saw towards the end of last year, but I think Zontix is shouldering a lot of that responsibility still. They're still trying to find, I think, a balance between those two players as sort of like late round finishers. But the front end composition of this team is really hard to beat with Donk, Chopper, and Shiro. With Chopper and Donk kind of trading who's going in for the actual entry kill and who's going to be more of that mid round explosive player. So obviously it's going to be Donk more times than Chopper, but at the same time it's kind of hard to count out the firepower on this team when they've just got so many players that can activate at different times. So I think there's even been an interview, I think from Katowice, that someone, I can't remember who had actually described it this way. I think it was an in-game leader that was just basically saying like Spirit right now are the best team, like clearly like a level above everybody else, and then there's like 5 or 6 teams that are also a cut above the chaff, and then there's like 15 other teams that are underneath that are like sort of clamoring to get into the conversation. So I agree with that pretty much.
I mean, I kind of do, but it depends on which IGL said this, because I'm going to be blunt. A lot of the teams who should be, in theory, based on how we saw last year end in that cut, have made changes and look kind of sloppy, off sort of kilter, I guess. Not playing great CS. I mean, Vitality are one of those examples of a team who should be there. But so far, we've seen them look a bit weak, like they've all of a sudden just returned to this, 4 role players and Zywoo style of Vitality. That also, I mean, you see here, they're losing in OT to 3D Max right now in map 1. And like, I know it's Inferno, it's a 3D Max pick, but they should be stomping them. And it's like they've got no reliable second source of firepower, and that's sort of diluting, I think, that gap between that next 5 and the 15 clamoring to get in. It's far more fluid right now. And that's why I think Eternal Fire, currently for me, I mean, I had them power ranked up at number 3, and as much as we may laugh at that ranking because of the heroic placement, I think it's overall very accurate when it comes to Eternal Fire are not a part of this sort of next 15, as you'd expect them to be given how last year played, because of the weakness of those teams above, the phases who've struggled, Vitality, I mean, MOUZ, who are now in complete flux, no idea what the hell they're going to look like. And even at the start of the year, what we did see was terrible. As I said, like, I don't have much to judge it on, but what I do have is not good. So add on some changes, and yeah, Eternal Fire are just a part of that pack now. And you're like, we need to see a little more, I think, top-level teams play like top-level teams before I can return to that sort of view of it. Currently, I have Spirit, NaVi, Eternal Fire as the 2 teams playing the best CS underneath them. And then everything else is pretty much chaos until someone can prove otherwise. Like, it's all well and good to theorize, but everyone else is just in chaos. So back onto the topic of hand. Yes, Spirit are the best pick right now. They are easily favorite of every tournament. Until they lose a damn series, they are the favorite for every event. The only map they've lost was in OT with Donk going missing. That's the one map they've lost this year. That's not something you can rely on. So yes, they are terrifying. MVP level Shiro for me, I put it in the video as well yesterday, era defining. If they can have that level of Shiro year round, and I'm not even talking, like, he doesn't have to average 1.4, but we're talking like 1.3s, like massive clutches, lots of trades that are actually found rather than just unattempted. If he's actually playing like that all year, it's over. It's over. I'm sorry. No one else even approaches the firepower currently, nor, if they do, have the structure to actually back it up and find it consistently. G2.
Yeah, so, even if you have inconsistent pieces, that shoulders the burden for those players if they're not finding form. Like, if you have a superstar level player in Donk or Shiro, it will alleviate strain for everybody, right? So, I just think they're in really good form. So,
yeah, they're the form pick, they're the theoretical best pick. Now I have to start weeding through this mess of other teams because Eternal Fire are a great value pick as an underdog. As a favorite, I have to see the matchups. I have to see how much I believe in their group positions, you know?
They are map up against Falcons right now.
Yeah, they won their pick against Falcons. That's to be expected at this point. Just to be honest, this Falcons team look way off the pace compared to an Eternal Fire.
I'm very well versed in Inferno as well, which is, you know, it's kind of like targeted weakness pick. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do I like to go here? I think I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to pick the team that I believe are probably second best in the world right now. I'm going to take NaVi. I think we are in the sort of prime period to be picking NaVi in 2025. They are still a very well-regimented team. They have one player with superstar mechanics, and then a bunch of guys who are very effective role players in their own roles, pretty much. Like, within this system, they're good. Everywhere else, they're very unimpressive. But I think they are bringing that stability into this year. You know, they still have a lot of mappings, like a deeper map pool they can rely on than a lot of other teams. Actually, they just know how to play them as a roster. It's not a question of having perfected all of them. It's just a question of just being consistently solid across the map pool in a way a lot of teams that are new, just made changes, really aren't. You know, we've seen a lot of wobbly things out of teams like Vitality. We've seen a lot of, I just think, ineffective play from teams like FaZe and G2. I think NaVi are the next best consistent team. They're the next most reliable team. Best coach, best IGL of the year, the two awards they really deserved. I think that's going to carry them through these early stages. And sure, they do have the group with Spirit, and I know, guaranteed, they'll lose to Spirit. It's a series, they lose to Spirit. Like, it's not Pro League, they're going to lose it. I think that was the exception rather than anything else. Generally, they are going to lose that series time and time again, but otherwise, if you look at the lower bracket run they might have to go through, GamerLegion, Mongols, Liquid, Furia, piece of piss. Absolutely cakewalk opponents for NaVi. Kind of weird that they've ended up in the same side of the bracket in Group B as Spirit, but not sure what's gone on there. I think that's just a poorly drawn bracket, but whatever. The rankings are a topic for their own video, really, rather than anything we have to break down today. I just think they are going to be a reliably top 3 team. It's just a question of, can they get over the hump of just beating Spirit in a series on LAN? I don't think they will anytime soon, but they're plenty good enough to make it out here. Yeah,
they have the advantage, like quite a few teams did, where they have their permaban being Vertigo, so they don't even have to really consider taking on Train as well. But it's something that they could definitely switch into later in the year if they decide that there's a glaring weakness in their map pool.
They have a coach and caller for it, really. Like,
yeah.
Train, Alexi B, Blade.
Yeah. Both historically have liked Train or have played it a lot in their careers. You know,
generally played it well, yeah.
Yeah. Not that this Train plays the same, but
there are some key differences. But hey, is it really, if you have the best coach in IGL, is it a problem for you that the T side now has more tools and better timings?
It actually doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't play that way as much as I theorized with early Train. Now it's like very CT aggression and crossfires before. Yeah,
it has shifted, but at the same time, like, I still think there is more play to have as a T than there used to be in certain spots. And I do think that CT aggression still it's something coordinated, it's something planned. It's something teams with good leadership and good team play are going to play better. So I think that's important for them.
Anyway, getting distracted. NaVi, yeah, solid pick. I mean, very regimented. I agree. Probably next to GamerLegion, those two are the most like military-esque style rosters we have in the circuit right now. And I'm all here for it. Like, you're 5 professionals, get in a server, you should be drilled to do certain things, and then occasionally you have um a superstar moment or a play that deviates from the game plan. But that's, to be honest, Bit can do that, JL can do that, hell, Imma can do that. I guess
Against
my
an
biggest
eco, yeah.
question, yeah, well,
No, that's
yeah,
that kind of it's an all of 2024 statistic. Towards the end of 2024, it's not as big of a stat. Like if you actually
sure.
filter properly, you realize that he slowly shifted the fucking differential back in his favor. So no, that's a bit playful, but yeah.
Sure. I think what'll be interesting to me is that I don't know whether Navi and the Falcons are going to have like a bidding war to try and find an AWPer to replace in their rosters to make them like superstar elite caliber teams.
Navi in a bidding war with Falcons. I don't think that's going to go very well for them.
Yeah, well, that becomes a whole different thing. But
yeah, but to be honest, I do not think conceptually, if you think of who Wonderful is as a player before he's on Navi, he's in that conversation for like AWPers who should be developing into superstars and should be treated as such. I mean, sure, he's not hit those heights when he's on Spirit, but he has events, he has series.
sure.
You know, he has flashes of truly dominant play. Like the great example, yeah, their Katowice run in 2023, he puts up outstanding fragging numbers. I do think they're gonna, whatever AWP they get their hands on, if it's not already a superstar, this is Blade, right? If it's not already simple, they're not gonna get simple treatment. They're gonna get the wonderful treatment. They're gonna be boxed in. They're gonna be, you know, limited.
I think that's also what's happened historically with Alexi teams. Is that it's very much, I want to know exactly what my AWPer is doing at all times and keeping them inside the lanes of what Alexi believes to be the right track. So that with Montu, he's saying like, oh, they didn't let me do these all these crazy things. I wonder if Wonderful gets that kind of treatment from the squad. I would think Blade would see the value in having a bit more of a loose calling style around that AWP, but if that doesn't line up with the Alexi line of thinking, then it actually just cannot happen in the server properly, because then Alexi doesn't know how to call his macro, and kind of throws the whole balance off. So I don't know, just something for me to, I guess, keep an eye out for in this year. But Navi, very solid first sort of opening favorite pick.
Yeah, that's it for me. It's just solid, reliable. Now, if they come into this event and also absolutely, dookie over themselves, get crushed by Furia somehow, and then go into the lower bracket and lose to a GamerLegion or who would they face actually? They'd face Astralis. Would be impressive, but I wouldn't put it past them, considering they don't have a real superstar.
Mm.
But all right, we're back to you. I don't think we're not going to bother doing a snake draft for 2 people, so.
Oh, okay.
Nah, I can't be bothered. Just take the best picks and I'll still beat you.
I hate that. Oh dear. You know what? Fine. I'm gonna do it.
Yep.
I'm gonna take Eternal Fire.
Nice.
I'm gonna go with them mainly because I agree with you at the moment. They're probably in like maybe I'd be top 4, top 5 conversation at the moment. There is a little bit of a worry at times still, I think, in terms of like Jota and how he plays his position. He's honestly doing a lot more in the late rounds than I thought he'd be able to pull off. Like he's had some clutches.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And like some of these mid-round like double entries he's getting when they're a little bit unsure about what to do is actually very promising. That, and I think we've seen pop-off maps from Xantarius, from Jota, and then we have Woxic as well, dominating in maps himself. Like, get that man on train, and apparently he's just a whole other beast. So, I mean, this team feels like it's in kind of almost its final form already so soon. Jota maybe needs a little bit of guidance still, I think. There's still moments when you're kind of watching him in the micro that he's maybe overstepping or not, I guess, coordinating with the team. I don't know if that's the plan or if that's just him getting caught on bad timings. But if this is how good they look at the start of their journey with Jota, then further you get into Kato and then months in the future, this Eternal Fire is actually very very, very worrisome to deal with, because they don't really have like a true supportive player. Like Wikade is sort of like a pseudo star, Jota is sort of a pseudo star. Zentaris and Woxic
It's essentially
both...
major, just IGL support.
Yeah, but
Outright.
even he has crazy maps
He's
at
had
times.
ridiculous pop-offs so far. Like, you talk about, typically Major being your support IGL in the sense that he's going to be an absolute bot fragger, but he hasn't really. Like, his fragging's, like, it's not consistent map long, but he has rounds where he hits ridiculous double kills. You're like, that's just cracking the entire defense open, just a major double entry. Not something you expect to see.
This is what Bad News Eagles wish they could have been. Like, essentially, yeah. Effectively 5 players that all have firepower, but then also having good executes and like good protocols. So, I mean, it's hard to discount the effort and the work that this Eternal Fire has put in. Clearly,
oh yeah, they've been outstanding. And for me, the way you described Joe, it's exactly how I expect him to fit. He's just going to thrive in the late round. Sometimes mid round, he'll step out, get a double kill, and just break something apart, or sometimes you'll see him just get caught out a bit. You're like, that's kind of the rub of it. That's the balance that you have to kind of deal with. That yes, he's going to be a little unpredictable for the other team to play against, and he's going to just decide that actually no, I'm not going to just hold this. I'm going to peek. I'm going to take this peek. And sometimes he'll be caught fiddling or doing Lord knows else because he's not just some super disciplined extremity player. He is very much a playmaker. And that's what I liked about him on Sangal, and that's what obviously has kind of worried people coming into this team. But man, we had an absolute banger map on Inferno, apparently. I wasn't able to watch it. I was in the shower. But it was a very quick map, 13-7, I think it was. But he's now also just putting up some frags. I see here, I've got the kill feed open. Like, he's fragging.
Yeah, we can see what they're doing against Falcons right now in real time.
So. They're up 4-1. So no, I thought it was a great pick even without this result, because I thought this result was going to be what happens anyway. I don't have much love for Falcons right now. Drop them down to 8th in my power rankings, and I was like, this is generous. Kato, show me something. They're
kind of in a favorable side of the bracket as well, with like a G2 that can be a bit of a miss, VP that I don't think actually were properly tested in the play-in stage. So yeah, I think they're kind of a lock-in for that upper final. So
yeah, Eternal Fire, brilliant pick. Probably have the second best rifler in the world. And a core that's just absolutely popping off. Love the pick, wish you wouldn't have taken it. All right, I kind of want to try and extract some value out of the underdog section of this event. The problem is I don't see any. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking through this list of teams and I have to really justify things. And oh lord, Vitality 3D Max is still in overtime.
It's great.
God damn. They are going back and forth on Inferno. Must be getting real ugly, real French out there. I don't know, man. If I continue to believe in VP, I do have to, like, I'm not making this pick. I'm just talking through some of these options.
Yeah.
I'd have to rely on certain things I don't think I can rely on. So you know what? I am going to take an underdog. Oh, no, I can't, because then what if you take that? Okay, I'm going to take the only other favorite that I think has a backup plan that I can actually get behind.
I've already picked 2 favorites. So
I know you can't pick another favorite. Never mind. Yeah. All right, give me Liquid. Now, Liquid are a team I was heavily critical on when it came to roster construction before I saw them play, and then especially after I saw them play initially, because I was like, oh lord, you lot just do not have it figured out in terms of how your T-sides are going to work, who's going to do what, and even some of the spots players are holding just didn't really seem to make sense. But towards the end here, and I'm bringing up exactly these games, this Complexity game and then the Wildcard game. Sure, NA matchups. But Complexity, beating them isn't the big deal. Really isn't. Come on, it's Complexity. But the Wildcard game, the fact that they are able to so utterly annihilate them on Anubis, but more importantly, just win Inferno against an IGL who I think probably the best Inferno IGL we have right now is Stanislaw. The way they dominated that map of Anubis, but also, dominating in terms of the firepower on Inferno, just proved to me like, yeah, that part of the team is undeniable. You have Naf, you have Twist, you have Nuts. Hell, even the Ultimate is more than capable of just hitting a series of quick shots and closing rounds down, just locking down bomb sites. And whilst we do know he has his limitations, we're not going to start talking about him in the even middle upper echelons, not upper echelons, like middle upper. Like, he's not in the Torji Brokey wonderful discussion. He's still a step behind them. But he's certainly got more pop-off moments than a Holzerk, than some of these lower end AWPers who just kind of hang about because there's not many options for certain rosters. He's got firepower when he needs it. And I think this Liquid team overall are going to keep winning just off the back of that. It's going to be a lot of vibes. It's going to be a lot of just interplay, because you have players like Twist who are just so good at playing off other players. You have Nertz who's so good at playing off what the other team gives him and finding his spaces and his frags. I think they are not necessarily a team I think have the ability to outcall and outmap pool their opponents here, but they will simply have a slight threat every map to just be like, we have 4 players who can just hit all the shots. You don't. Bring it on. Reduce the game to its simple. It's the 1s and 0s of Counter-Strike. Headshot, body shot. 1s and 0s. They might be better at that side, and that just helps them edge through. I am really trying to extricate value out of what I think is a pretty dead pool of underdogs, just because the good underdogs have been playing so well over the last 3 months. They're now favorites. That's just the simple reality of it. The Eternal Fires, the Mongols, these sorts of rosters have taken the next step up, essentially. And the underdog I was trying to extract the most value out of most recently, which was Sangal that became heroic, well, we saw how that ended in the play-in. So I'm going to take Liquid. I think there's some second wave underdogs, when you're getting real desperate for picks at the end, that you could talk about. But as far as a leading underdog pick, is there another one that's actually worth taking?
Yeah, it's a very tough conversation. To be honest, it kind of feels like we're like day traders and we've been investing in these potential stocks or something, and then we still see losses and losses and losses, but now everything's on the rise and we're eating good. The fact that the underdogs are finally considered favorites. Yeah, I kind of see what you mean about Liquid. To be honest, they're just a team where I agree, when they play simpler and they focus on just extracting their own kills from rounds or sort of working independent fights, I think they play better.
They
I think
massively do, yeah.
And it's so I think it's so evident when you look at Ultimate when he first joined the team, the initial honeymoon period that they had, JKS when he joined the team and when the initial honeymoon period, and now Nerds, I feel like that's probably the kind of what's happening here as well, where they are more focused on, I'm just not going to mess up my fights, I'm focused on this, and then we'll see what happens. And I think so far Liquid have been able to make that work. I think they're going to struggle against the Mongols, though. I don't think you can just get away with just vibes and fragging against a team that are kind of in a similar position as Eternal Fire, with, I guess, less of a track record at the start of this year.
Yeah, so in theory, they should be. That's what they essentially says. Mongols, the moment they play, might instantly just bounce up. Because they are consistent. There's no change to the roster. We knew at the end of the year they had the fragging IGL, the fraggers all over the roster, the game plan that really got a lot out of them. All these good things we were saying about them, that could just come in and just be true, and all of a sudden, you have to put them towards the top 6, essentially, with the mess that a lot of the other teams are.
Mm-hmm.
Until I see it, though, I can't believe it, right?
I can't believe it. I get you.
But yeah, no, I think the point you brought up there with the Liquid simplification, the most obvious example to me was that Mirage game they played and won against Heroic. And I was this was just 5-man spread, feel it, vibe it, frag it, and that was their T side in the long and the short. When you go to Ancient, though, it's hey, JKS is going to be a hard entry on this set execute. I'm fuck no, is he? No, he's not. Look at this mess.
Make it stop.
It's horrible.
Yeah,
absolutely awful.
Get Nerds back to hard entering, please. I loved it when he was.
Or just pick someone else. I want Nertz to entry at his own pace in that sense. Or don't run set plays, just let Nertz vibe out mid. If he decides to go a bit faster, let him go a bit faster, but just let Nertz dictate everything about these sorts of plays. Forcing JKS through a smoke is not how I want to see you playing. That's just not how Liquid are going to win, and thankfully they have sort of figured that out. I don't think they've necessarily explicitly got it in words in their head, but it seems to be improving map by map, so fingers crossed it keeps going up. Yuumi, underdog. Who'd you like the look of? Falcons, they've won 2 rounds now on their map pick.
Yeah. Oh, God. I'm just thinking about the bracket is the main thing. Because, even if I think one of these underdogs is good, do I think that they have a chance to make it past that bracket?
Yeah. Who'd you like to upset, or who'd you like to win three series in a row? That's the real question.
You know what? I'm sticking with the Germans. I'm going with Big. They astounded me when they played against Heroic. That was it was insane to see I guess the habit Hyped had formed, just hitting insane shots. Because
Yeah.
during the play-in stage, he was hitting some unbelievable flicks and winning. He won some dumb rounds against Imperial Female, to be quite honest. And
Yeah.
say what you want about whether or not you think the players are of caliber or whatever. He's like, he would pull that off against like a 3D Max. Like if the circumstance was similar, there was some tomfoolery going on. So I'm buying into Big at the moment. This is the most promising Big have looked in the past 3 years, I think. And if not now, then they will forever be locked out of my heart. Hyped and QB have been impressive enough. To be quite honest, JDC and Crimbo have not been as...
Oh no, they really haven't impressed me, yeah.
Yeah, they've not been as heavy a figure as I thought they would be, but I imagine they've also done some shifts because Tabson probably wants the two pieces that are most familiar with how he wants to call with him, and so maybe it's pulled them away from their more traditional spots. I haven't really done like a deep dive on positions and what's been swapped over, but I'd like to think that JDC and Crimbo are taking on more responsibility so that QB and Hyped are a bit more comfortable, just so this is kind of like as a stopgap to serve as a means to get Big up and running faster. So yeah, I don't know. JDC's still hitting nice shots. Crimbo's still hitting nice shots. They're just not as impactful as they once were. So
yeah, for me, the JDC is now an openings guy, superstar opening rifle thing. I was just like, I mean, it's looking more and more like it's not actually really going to be a thing. Like, he's not actually that good.
He was kind of doing that when Rigon was on the team as well, though.
That's what I'm saying. That was still a part of the same sort of era. It's just, the more I watch it, the more I'm like, I feel like he's playing a role in the a dramatic sense. Like, he's just on stage pretending to be a king, but really he is just another pauper with a song in his heart. He's just not that guy. But that's more of a secondary concern. I can't just argue with the straight banging numbers, some of the shooting. But the hyped part of this is obviously the part that's most shocking. It's not even close. What the hell is this kid taking right now? Like, when did this happen? Usually people have to go to China to get this much confidence in their AWPing. And even when they come back, they don't hit 1.3 ratings. Like, even if you ignore the Imperial FE of this all, like, if you filter by top 30, you remove Imperial FE, he's still got a 1.3 rating pretty much. Like, what the hell? And a 0.88 KPR. Where did this come from? I remember this kid. Like, I remember him on the big academy the first time and the second time. He was decent at academy level, but every time I was on the main team, not that impressive. And his alternate attacks, I'm sorry. If you watched him play on alternate attacks and told me this guy would drop a 1.3 at an elite event, I would slap you because you're not watching the right thing. Like, you're watching something else. You've accidentally put on a simple demo. That kid was not that good. I swear.
Yeah.
So I'm genuinely astounded. A lot of people were shocked by the move in the first place and now are just shell-shocked, I think, by the results. And yeah, I do think Big are going to struggle against better teams. Like, good teams, I think they're going to struggle against. And that's been they played Big. They played G2, gave G2 more of a game than anyone really expected. Honestly, people like me expected G2 to not be a dumpster fire, but they kind of have been. But at the same time, Big just are a big upset team right now. And that's a fair pick as an underdog. FaZe are shaky. Go out there, have the better AWPer. Honestly, with the way Brokey started the year, you might have the better AWPer on the server. That could be a big deal. I'm sure FaZe are unhappy with how they've played so far, and we'll see a better level out of everyone. But if Hyped is shooting like that, why not? Why not?
Yeah, I think that's part of the justification as well, is that I do believe that they can beat a FaZe, and when they start going in through that lower bracket, I'm thinking 3D Max, Falcons, maybe VP. Like, those are teams that, to be honest, aren't out of the realm of possibility with the way that Big have been playing so far. It's just whether or not they can maintain that level to make it through a lower bracket, or even if they make it through into the upper bracket, because I don't expect them to beat Vitality. Is the only hurdle I don't think that they should be able to cheat past, but Vitality have also been shaky at places. So
they have, yeah. It still doesn't look like Rops is all that integrated. T-side especially just not been very impressed. And Flamesy also, hey, here you go. Here's all the best roles. Please go be a star. So far this year, I checked, 0.92 rating or something like that. Holy fuck. Really hasn't taken to that.
You'll grow into it. You'll grow into it.
I mean, He's 21. You can't keep leaving growing room in his shoes, mum. Like at some point, he needs them to fit. And so far, it looks like they do not fit. They're way too big. But I'm hoping for it, because I was a big fan of his last year. I'm hoping he does come through. I'm currently looking through some of my options,
Sure,
to round out my underdog picks, and I'm like, am I about to pick Astralis? It was the most doubted pick of mine from last. I'm not sure. My VP pick was also heavily doubted in the play-in, and that's technically available for me now. All I know is if I pick Falcons, they're starting in the lower bracket. I have to pick them to not lose again.
Yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah, and I actually do believe in like Falcons building. I guess it's just
I now need them to be perfect.
Yeah, are they built now? Is the thing.
Is Nico actually just bad? Another real question.
No, no. From what I've seen, no, but
also yes. He's been up and down like crazy.
Yeah.
Like this map, he's 8 and 11 on T side of Train.
Yeah, but it's just that he was like, even in the first map of that series, and yeah, I was watching. He had like crazy multi kills, but then didn't always get the multi kills, which is or didn't even get sometimes the one kill, which is not really his fault. Sometimes he's like sort of the floating player between bomb sites. So
yeah, I'm not sure who I'd prefer. Do I pick Furia? Do I believe in Furia? No, I'm not kidding. I don't believe in Furia in the slightest. I never have, never will.
Oh, sorry, my camera has decided to do a thing.
And he's back. There we go. Very nice. Okay. I might. You
gotta pick something.
I know this video's got to end at some time. I feel like Group B is the place to be. Give me Astralis. I don't care. Give me Astralis. I'm going to keep betting on the group stage kings. The same justification applies, really, to why I picked them in the play-in. They were just so good last year in group stages, and so far have served me quite well as a group stage pick. Now, I am extended the group stage from play-in until playoffs of Kato, which seems like quite a long group stage, but that's okay. It fits my narrative well enough. And I did decide to rely quite heavily on, essentially, Device playing very well. And he did. He did play fairly well. He had an off map to start, I believe, and that kind of killed his rating for the rest of it. Like an off series, maybe. Yeah, an off series against MIBR, and that put them off to a bad start. But then, had some solid games against FlyQuest, smashed Pain on Inferno, AFK'd basically on Dust 2, but that was fine because everyone else also stepped in to assist, really. And look, this is a roster that a lot of people have pointed out. It's a duo, but that don't play together. I'm like, so what? Neither was Forest and Get Right. Who cares? It's a team that never can really get it done. And as soon as they're out of the group stage, they're going to lose. Unless you're... Who was it who tried to push back on me when I said that was essentially the Astralis point? Like...
Oh, I remember bringing up that like they don't really... They're not like a synergized pair. But
no, that's
I don't know
one part. But the other part was... like I remember pushing back. Someone wanted to pick them or talk about Astralis. So I was like... Psh. But they're trash. They don't win in playoffs. They just win in groups. And they're like, but those group stage games matter. I was like, no, they don't. No, they don't. It's just a fun stat that they get through the group stage, but they're useless once they get through. And they end up being true time and time again until it finally died last year on its ass. But I don't remember who that conversation was with. It was one of the guests. But look, Yabby, Stown, whilst they are completely separate from each other most of the time, tend to do quite well in those separated, extreme, sort of isolated plays. It's both because they have a certain pace they want to dictate for themselves. Neither one of them wants to be bait for someone else. And so they just end up very distinctly separated. And it does sort of function in the groups, at least. In the groups, it kind of works. And I do love the point that we always fall back to, that always comes up. It's there's that little leak that Stown is an audio player, which I never thought would be a relevant thing a top-level pro would have to claim.
Everybody's an audio player.
Yeah, but the idea that Stown is so tuned into what he's hearing and how he makes plays off the audio, and I'm like, is that really why shit in arenas? Is that the excuse we have? And I'm like, if it works, it works. But at the same time, how ridiculous does that sound?
Yeah,
I think he's the best headset. That's why he's so good in fucking group stages. But no, it all plays into this idea that Group stage wise, very few teams have been able to match their firepower output last year, especially in the first 6 months where they were just ridiculous. Once they get to playoffs, I have a problem. But this is an underdog at an event where I don't think there's a good underdog. So, Astralis, fluke me a playoff, please. Just fluke me another playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I think Astralis, the main thing has been that they look somewhat uncoordinated, or they wait too long to go for executes, and some of their mid-round decisions have been, like, even in that Pain game, I think there were moments where they wait too long, they lose one player, and they force save on T side of Dust 2. Like, there are elements where I do think that the calling is a little bit too slow, or they're not finding the right rhythm, but I think their sort of base level game, so long as they keep enough time on the clock, is actually just solid. Like, they've got good pieces. Hell, even Cadian looked kind of sharp in some of those games. So,
which is weird, right? Like, that's really not what I'm expecting. I expect a good level out of Yabby Stown, a surprising every time level out Stare, which is, it's no longer surprising, guys. Stop being surprised when Stare's actually not a complete bot. He's just not.
It's the reason he stayed on the roster as long as he
exactly.
has. Like, everyone commends him for being willing to give up spots, but then also just doing his job and shooting, like, when he needs to.
Yeah, and he also just maintains a good level. Like, he doesn't get enough credit for that, I think, and that's why. Yeah, I had him on an anchors like tier, like pretty high, like 8th, 7th. I'm like, he gives up all the spots, and yet somehow he's magically got a 1.08 rating, like, year round. It's like, yeah, part of it's the group stage thing, but part of it is also once they do get to playoffs, he's going to want it at 1.0. So everyone else utterly shits themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to pick another underdog here to round out your picks for the show, and, well, have fun. To be honest, I don't like any of these picks.
I'm gonna stay on the same side of the bracket. I'm staying in Group B for my underdog, and I'm just gonna go for it. I'm picking GamerLegion. This is a purely vibes pick, to be quite honest.
Yep, I understand. The lowest seed of the tournament.
They are the lowest seed, and I refuse to pick Virtus.pro. Been burned too many times. 3D Max. Actually, probably could have
just too French.
Yeah, maybe too French. And there are other picks. I don't know. I just want to talk about GamerLegion and the way that they've been playing, because I personally did not believe in them making it through in the play-in stage. The win against Saw is a gimme. I thought they would lose to Pain for sure. But they played up to standard. Hell, they outgunned Pain, to be quite honest, in a few of those in a couple of those maps as well. And I was expecting them to maybe be more tactical or have, like, set plays that are countering what Pain likes to do on these aggressive, like, opening CT lines or something. No. They did their own executes. They punished aggression, and they just played, like, very clean looking Counter-Strike, to be honest, in those opening 2 sets of games. So
yeah, that Inferno was a beauty, like, against Pain.
Yeah, no, it was hard to watch in the same way that the following Pain game was hard to watch as well. So,
yeah,
maybe that says more about Pain than does GamerLegion, but I just think that I find it hard to bet against Ash and the analyst that he so rightly called out for. I think IMD on Twitter. You know, they're giving a lot of credit to each other. They're prepping the team quite well, and to be honest, Towson has continuously he's not like a breakout star or anything, but I had very low expectations of him, and he's kind of slowly impressing me in some of the impact he's having. Even if it's low fragging on the scoreboard, he's still getting his impact, which is nice.
Yeah, Towson for me is, I keep saying it, and I'm going to keep on just harping on the same idea, that he is basically the standard Danish rifler that you find all over tier 2, like, just everywhere. There's so many of them. Nixon, Nut, fucking all these guys.
Sure.
Who are just like, you put them in the team, you tell them what to do, and they don't do anything stupid. It's just they don't have the fragging ability to just break out of the mold and be like this super impactful rifler. But they're just solid, and I saw that on Inferno and Mirage against Pain especially. I'm just like, yep, he's just doing his job very well. And here, he had a little moment, he had a little double kill. Very nice, tidy. But I just don't need him to be anything else. And I let PR, be a solo player, hitting his lurks, hitting his timings, finding some of the most beautiful entries and doubles. Like, when he hits a double kill, you remember that shit. Like, I remember a PR double. They're usually so pretty. But Towson doesn't need to be that. He's very much the soldier of the roster. Whilst everyone else finds their place. Impressive level from Rez, as I put it.
Yeah.
Like, basically, make Ash's Coach of the Year. If you can get 2 series out of Rez in a row where he plays like a star rifler, Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year.
I don't care. Coach of the
Nobody
year.
else has done this.
Nobody
No
else
one's
has
done
managed
this.
to do this since I Am Oakland 2017. Ash, Coach of the Year. That's kind of the thing that's entertained me so far about them. But no, Slend, I think, has been, for me, one of the more disappointing pieces in the games they lose, you know, where he's struggled a bit, and I'm like, I do need a little more from Slend if I'm going to keep believing in them to just keep upsetting just more and more teams. But I think the reason this is actually a very astute pick, they do open with MOUZ. MOUZ, who are playing with Zelex. No offense to the kid. He's terrible. So this is a great opportunity for them to win their opener. They're playing with, I guess, a new IGL with a kid from the academies who I thought was not going to stay around the academy. He has, because their rebuild has gotten younger and younger, and at this point he is like, what is he like? He's not the
16.
oldest on the team. He's 16. He's not the oldest on the team, but the team's average age is young, you know? Like, the other guys are 16, 16, 16. They're just all 16 right now, with a fifth to be confirmed, I believe. But, yeah, he didn't impress me himself, and I'm just saying, you've got a great opportunity here if you're GamerLegion to just open up with an easy win, and at least delay your I need to be unbeaten run of the lower bracket to actually make it and get you some points. So, I think it's a fairly solid pick.
Yeah, I think that, to be honest, I think GamerLegion can beat a Liquid. I don't think they can beat a Mongols. But that's maybe me rating Mongols too highly. I don't know, but I think Liquid are more susceptible to being countered than
it's a blind
Mongols
rating of Mongols in that sense, because we are entirely blind on Mongols.
New year, new them, maybe, or maybe worse them. Who's to say?
Yeah, still new, even if it is worse. All right, I need to pick a favorite. The problem is, usually when I have to, just pick a favorite. Vitality's on the board. Last year was just grab Vitality because they're good for a semi-final, you know? I don't really believe in that Vitality right now.
MOUZ is a fraudulent favorite.
Yeah, MOUZ are not a favorite at all. I have the same problem with Vitality that I do FaZe. In a sense, and I do not want to blind pick Mongols, so I'm pretty much left by default picking the firepower gods of G2. And whilst it has been slightly concerning to me, as someone who has to try and pick them and justify them in certain contexts, that m0NESY has not been consistently god tier m0NESY this year, I'm still very happy with the firepower available to me when I'm picking this roster. Because think about it like this. We still have malbs, and he's taken to his new roles quite well, I think. It's not the same style of play as Nico, especially on that CT side. He's just desperate, just gagging for fights. Like, he's going all out. Like, his opening kill attempt rate has skyrocketed on CT side. But he's hitting his shots. And I say that, I had that critique of m0NESY. I just checked this year's stats. He's at a 1.34.
We have high standards.
We do have very high standards, though, for m0NESY. He probably has some lows that worry me. Yeah, that's why. He has 2 maps against Big that are weak, a map and a half, I guess, against G2 that are weak, yeah. And then he absolutely shit on Bet Boom. That's why. A lot of their stats are going to be slightly inflated because they did play a 2 stand-in Bet Boom that just were horrible. So that's why the stats are a bit inflated right now. But overall, you think about it, like, malbs is just a beast. Heavy God has had some of those iconic Heavy God rounds of just like, I am a turret, come fight me. And he still wins, despite the swingers meta. Like, he's just still heavy godding.
You dare walk into my bomb site?
Exactly. There is one pillar here. You sure you want to fight me? I have a pillar. Like, it's me and a pillar. You lot are fucked. That's a triple kill, just guaranteed. So no, despite Snax's desperate attempt to make the team lose every map with his fragging, they are still able to just overwhelm certain opponents. And sure, Eternal Fire, who have, I think, the fragging and calling edge against them currently, just because of m0NESY not actually being that hot, despite that, Bet Boom series inflating everything. I think there's still a lot to be said for the firepower. And look, let's just conclude this way, my take for them. I'm going to give Nico a lot of credit. This is a pick for you, because you seemed very convinced that, also, Nico and Heavy God, convinced that actually, Snax, Taz, great caller, great leader. Now, we're going to overlook the fact that you had number 2, 5, and 10, or 11 in the top 20. And despite all that, as well as your good coach in IGL, didn't win a damn thing that really mattered. Ignore that. Pretend that you actually have a case here. And say, you know what, they actually have a good coach and a good IGL. they're going to figure it out, and they'll be playing better CS than they were to start off the year. Let's just put it like that. Let's give them credit for all the words they've thrown out into the universe.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. I mean, I don't think it's as bad. I mean, okay. I'm going to actually give a lot of credit to Hunter because I thought he would fall off hard when Nico left, more so than seeing variants from m0NESY.
Yeah, that was a part of it. Yeah.
Hunter also looked pretty good in the games that they've played so far. So
against Eternal Fire, he was the best player on the server, almost. Like Eternal Fire didn't have a single player stand out quite as much as Hunter did on G2, which was weird to see.
Yeah, I mean, you have m0NESY, you have Heavy God, you have MOUZ, and then you have a Hunter that if he's able to maintain that level, it will be the Hooksy joke of I don't need to kill anybody. Like he genuinely so. Yeah, well he does, he'll try, but he might not have to. So yeah, I mean I don't hate G2 as a pick. I do agree I don't have as much confidence as some of the players might in the Snax Taz combo. I do think Snax needs some legitimate help. Taz does seem from the interviews. I don't know if you watched the sort of Cologne doc. I only got about halfway through. But there's just like certain things from Taz where I'm sure he's like a very symbolic, very level-headed personality that kind of reflects on the team. And my camera's done that thing again. Which I'm sure does help level them out. But I think Snax is already that kind of a person. You know, is just very calm, cool, relaxed. Hey guys, just kill everybody. Not me though. And I think he needs someone that is a bit more of a tactical coach or an analyst behind him. If you want to make Snax look good, if you want to retain him as an in-game leader, I think he needs some help on a tactical front. So yeah, that's about as much as I'll say on that.
Yeah, we've had these discussions. I've had these discussions as well with coaches at this point where I'm talking about the shorter games, how that's shifting the IGL meta, like what they need to be, and it's almost unanimous. Like you don't need a tactically minded IGL in the same way you used to. He doesn't have to, make sparing use of his timeouts and try to come up with solutions for himself. And, he doesn't have that long of a half. It's a shorter half. He can use the timeouts. You get far more influence as a coach. He just has to be a leader of men in that sense. And, you talk about the calming aspect of Snax. He doesn't have to fill in the fragger role, as some others do, where he's like, lead by example, also go out frag, the Big U0, the Blitz model, the Linus model, actually, at times. He's very much more of just the calming presence in a team that is just rife with firepower. And, a bit of, it's not necessarily they're hot-headed, they're just, can be a bit swingy, a bit, hot and cold, and he tries to avoid the colds and make sure the hots don't burn too bright and burn out. And it's kind of like the Snax role in that sense. Like that, from that front, he could be a productive IGL for G2. But as you said, without the coach who can come in and find the solutions, the adjustments, without the coach who's going to go, timeout, what the fuck are you doing, MOUZ? Stop running out through mid. I mean, Snax, don't know how you didn't notice, but whatever, wake up. Without a coach who's that tactically aware, it does, reflect terribly on Snax. And so, yeah, I am going to give Heavy God I'm not giving him real credit. I'm being facetious as all fuck. But yeah, if you do have you guys fragging, and they are good coaches in IGLs, win Katowice. Go do it. Because otherwise you're just full of shit. Realistically.
Yeah. To be honest, with the way that Heavy God has played, and it's like very limited sample size, but he plays like he is the best anchor in the world right now. Like I just from eye test as well, you see like what he's doing versus what some other anchors are doing. He's swinging more. He's killing more though. Like he's doing so much more on like an impact front than other anchors do with given the same limited resources. That said, he doesn't prioritize staying alive. He prioritizes how many kills he can find before the execute, I guess, finishes in totality.
Yeah, do you know what's hilarious? Firstly, that is the point that a lot of anchors have made, like the ones who have to adjust their playstyle. Like, forget that I have to, the MOUZ quote, forget that I'm trying to survive, try to kill. But also, quite hilariously, Heavy God for the year so far is actually massively overperforming on the T side and slightly underperforming on the CT side. It's just a question of how it looks, Like, he doesn't look that bad, but he's actually got terrible CT stats, but a 1.51 on T side just for the year. Like, holy shit. But on the T side, he's not an entry in the sense like he's picking up openings. You see it left, right, and center, but it's not the same thing as he's actually taking the opening fights. In that explosive manner.
I'd be interested to know how many of those CT rounds or like his CT kills are just like a double kill or a triple kill though, because
his multi-kill rate's 14%, which is quite a bit below average. Got an outstanding clutching stat though. He's winning a lot of clutches.
Sure, okay.
So that's kind of what it looks like right now. Speaking of firepower rating, I saw a hilarious anomaly. This is a complete tangent, nothing to do with G2. FlameZ, right? 0.92 rating for the year, coming into Cato. 67 firepower rating. Do you want to know why?
What is weighting him so high?
So his, as you just mentioned, is it all double kills? His multi-kill rate for the year is 22%, which is elite. Like, he's just got this absurd multi-kill rate. All of his kills almost are coming in multi-kills. That's it.
He's not getting a kill around.
No. He's dying quite a lot. But in the rounds where he doesn't die, he's doubling or tripling up. And that's just massively inflated his firepower rating. The small sample helps. But it is quite entertaining to look at. We're like, 67, but he's so shit. Like, that's why. That's why. And it'll probably affect the eye test as well of like FlameZ, but I remember all these highlights. It's actually just because every other round you haven't noticed he's just dead.
Yeah.
He just got banged out. You didn't realize. And yeah, Eternal Fire have 1-2-0, so good thing no one picked Falcons. 13-7, 13-5 on the Falcons pick. Oh my god.
That's like when, Astralis also picked Train and they got blown out. Falcons picking Train and then losing that hard is not good.
It's not good at all. But all right, we are essentially in our overtime section now for this episode. We do have a lot of big name teams who haven't been picked. And I want to firstly get your take on MOUZ, because I'm sure as you're shocked as anyone to see that change happen. Can you offer an explanation? Can you offer a rationalization? How do you think they look coming into this? Do you believe in that sort of IGL honeymoon that a lot of teams tend to, not a lot of teams, but certain teams do get that sort of brief buff where a new IGL is he's calling the same book that's been prepped and run through over and over again, but they should have a new fragger in and it kind of works for a bit. Where do you see this MOUZ playing? Like, what level?
I want them to lose every game. And that's, I guess I expect that they'll be better than we foresee. When you see like a fire burning over the hill, it's sometimes not actually as big a fire as it's made to look with the amount of smoke that's there. You still have Jimmy, you still have Zershin, you still have Torji, to be honest, that can probably do enough as a core to get these guys a win or two. I know nothing about this Alex kid, and I think that's probably what most people are going to look at coming in. Brolin will not call the same. He'll know some of the calls that Shuei used to make, but he won't as intuitively pick the right of those calls. It'll just be like, here are 25 calls I remember Shuei making. Let's just that one.
He has run through the playbook in prac with the team. He's not, a complete nincompoop. He's not a nitwit, but he is. The part that's difficult, the part where we talk about Shuhei adding value, is his ability to obviously interpret the mid-round and make a call, make an assessment. Can Brolan do that? Has he been secretly very vocally involved in making those decisions? We won't know.
I just don't know how. I just don't understand how Brolin always has so much leverage, like benching himself in Fnatic, ending up on an international roster anyway at NIP, and now usurping Shuei from MOUZ. I don't understand.
It's strange, isn't it? Very
strange. He's got so much leverage somehow. But yeah, I expect this team is going to be better than we expect, and I just think they're going to fall off in 4 months. So I don't care. I don't even care that they bring in Spinks. But the style from MOUZ is going to have to develop and change quite dramatically. Like, it's probably going to be more loose, aggressive, more angry-looking Counter-Strike than MOUZ before, where it's like, well, let's make this counter-aggressive move, or let's take this space. It'll be less area prioritization and more just duel dependent, I think.
Yeah, but that might work. I think simplifying, getting maybe a player like Xertion out of his own head, just being like, yeah, you're just going to run out here and fight. Like, sure, I'm not saying you won't choke, but I think reducing the variability of what he's doing might cause a little bit of an improvement. It could help him lock in.
Given the map pool right now, we're actually in the least tactical era of Counter-Strike. Like, the maps aren't really conducive to playing like sys or area-based Counter-Strike. You know, Inferno and Train are probably the most heavily prioritized maps in that regard. Anubis, like the tactics are so much more on like a micro level that I actually don't think playing hyper tactical Counter-Strike it works in this era at the moment. I think it's more front loaded than previous map pools and previous eras have been. So
okay, yeah, it might be the case. That might work.
Or maybe it's just the fact that the base level tactics are so much better than those previous eras as well. You know, there's
a certain amount though where we've just built so much of a foundation of how to play top level CS that it just becomes like we don't realize how much we're actually building on. Like we're just like, oh yeah, this is just default map controls. Like, bro, you've thrown 13 pieces of util and made 17 little micro adjustments, like compared to, you know, what would have been done back in the day.
It's like we're just changing. We're changing sea level and how we measure, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
As the game develops, right? So
we're just not seeing the dirt we're standing on, right? How tall it's gotten. Because you'll notice these. Actually, that's something I've noticed in very low level play. Like I don't play at a high level when I play matchmaking. You know, my friends, not Counter-Strike players really. They're not into it. I drag them on, and we try to run XX. That I throw every piece of util. You know, it's that kind of vibe. And we chill at I chill at 15 to 16k. They chill far below it, but whatever. I notice in these levels of games, it's become so like easy to find nades, to find out timings through content that's become available. And like, I'm talking terrible players are throwing one-man XX for entire bomb sites. Like everyone has that guy on their team. Everyone's got a little bit of study done. Like people are throwing perfect CT smokes on Inferno B. And I'm like, I remember back in the day where it was lucky you could get a flashbang that wouldn't flash your entire team, bro. Like, and that was at Eagle, which is a far higher elo relative to where I'm at now. Like the game we are standing on the shoulders of not necessarily giants, but just a massive mound of work that a lot of people have put in. So I think that's a very true phenomenon.
It's what the old legacy players always say is that, you know, the resources available to the average player is so much more. I mean, we've got everyone explaining what smokes to throw, breaking down executes. We've got like bot maps that do it for you as well. And, you know, you can practice your pre-aim, you can practice your smokes, your flat, everything. So the level is obviously going to develop a lot because of that. So
yeah, it's a big shift in the way of play. And yeah, I mean, obviously always the greatest example of like standing on like essentially on all this research, all this work, like for competitive things is always chess, because chess players are like, yeah, now I can watch 100-something years of chess and understand every position at a level someone who 50 years ago could never do, because you'd have to literally open a fucking book and just be like, trying to figure out what the hell went on.
They move like 3 pieces and it's like, they're doing that game from 1947. Like, yeah,
literally. And everyone, you don't have to put in the effort to research it, because the engine can just tell you whilst you're live following the game. You'll just have a thing on the sides be like, you know, we have not entered a new variation yet. This is Thingy versus Thingy 2003, Game 7. You know, so much easier to be good at stuff now. And yet still, G2 suck. I mean...
Man, there's no excuses to being bad, but yet so many teams still are. It's crazy. And I can never be on any of them, but that's not the point.
No, it is comedy to me when I watch that back in the days when G2 were throwing the CT smoke on Inferno B specifically and missing it, like not actually getting it up on the boost spot.
Yeah.
Like, bro, the random Russians who are yelling slurs at me in their squeaky little voices, they're throwing that smoke.
They've put more time in. You know, they've got time to practice. G2 are busy traveling the world. So
yeah. But all right, on the same vein of MOUZ being a big name, let's quickly take I think FaZe need to be taken apart a little bit. Like, what's gone on with FaZe so far from what you've seen? Because we had one good series from Elige, one terrible series from everyone. Like, what's your read on them?
It just doesn't look like they've got roles sorted out. It's kind of reminiscent of Liquid in that, you know, there's almost an initiative overlap of who's doing what on the team.
Yeah.
Elige doesn't. I don't think Elige ever really wants to be an entry fragger. That was always the thing with when he was in Liquid. He did entering for a while. He hated it. Wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, FaZe need like a front-ended playmaker on this squad because Frozen's not doing that. Karrigan will try. Rain doesn't. I mean, Rain also does try at times, but Brokey is also not that guy. So in terms of actually what FaZe need, a player of Elige's caliber, yes, but they need someone that intuitively wants to take those fights. And I think Elige has been doing some playmaking, but it just feels like it's very disorganized. Is I guess the way it comes across, and that's kind of been FaZe for the past 6 to 9 months. In all honesty, so I don't know that it fixes just with the Elige move. There's just gonna have to be a lot of work done in terms of like reassigning roles.
Yeah, because in theory, that's exactly what we're supposed to have, right? It was supposed to be Elige comes in, he's taking all these opening fights for complexity. He's supposed to do this again here, and that will, we'll finally have a player who's a rifler, who's a star, who's aggressive on FaZe. And, Rain or Karrigan, whoever it ends up being, preferably Rain, can, like, take a slight back seat, but still occasionally have his moments. As in, be less aggressive overall, because, the volume was distributed between him and Karrigan. He can just be a more passive player. But man, so far, it's just awkward. It just looks a bit awkward, and I couldn't pick them for that reason. If they come out here and they play how I've theorized they should play, like, Frozen gets to be his baity little self, but it's productive, and Elige takes all these opening fights and is actually the star rifle for the team, the proper star. Brokey's stuff, like, it could work. It could all work. It could all work together, but so far, it hasn't been consistent. It's been a bit ugly when it's not worked. Yeah, I'm struggling to see the vision as well.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. Because I think, everybody wants to see top level players succeed, but as much as I'm not a role cell, you have to be able to create a hierarchy. I don't even think it's about roles. I think you have to create a hierarchy of playmakers. And
all right, Jordan Peterson, chill out. It's all hierarchies. The lobster.
There's a king, there's a top of the pyramid, and then everybody beneath him.
And that's Karrigan right there. That's Karrigan. Yeah. That's Karrigan. Okay, now follow me. Next, in terms of testosterone. I kid. That man's become a meme, but some of his work prior to his fame was actually interesting.
Yeah.
The point is, though, that we are, as I said in my video, I was like, I need to see Katowice for a lot of these teams. How it goes will inform a lot, and it'll be basically something a lot of teams have been building up to. So we should see the best or most realistic version of them. What we've seen from Falcons is it's still a disaster so far, and I was right to be like, I can't really move them up. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt till we have Kato before I boot them off the fucking list. And yeah, turns out they're pretty shit. So the boot is incoming. So FaZe, hopefully they're not in that same park, like same area. I still have some love for them. Who else is that we haven't talked about, do you think you most care about?
We kind of talked about the Mongols. We kind of talked about Vitality.
Yeah.
We didn't talk on them specifically, but
they came up in terms of matchups and other stuff, yeah.
To be honest, not a lot. Virtus.pro, the fact they made it through the play-in, good for them, I guess.
You're not enamored, though.
Flit, actually, to be honest, is redeeming himself. He's being pulled off of my fraud watch a little bit.
I was about to bring that up because, you did say Flit's on fraud watch. Now, I saw the play-in, I watched only one of their maps, really, I think, but I saw the numbers. I was like, Flit is just kind of banging people right now. Like, what's going on? Flammus kind of taking the worst numbers overall, from the play-in, but Flit being on top of everything, that's the real shock.
Yeah, it just... Yeah, I don't really know how to call it. Their CT sides looked very good from what I've been able to see. Their T sides are still a little unorganized, but to be honest, that's to be expected when you have an in-game leader swap. You've got a new aggressive rifler and try to find out how they operate. I think they look like they've got really good CT side cohesion. They're playing off each other. They're creating crossfires. They're not doing anything totally outrageous. They're not playing too passive either, which I guess was always the VP criticism. So yeah, I mean, as much as I don't rate Electronic as a caller, I have to say they have turned an initially good corner for, you know, I guess building on the talent they have on this roster. Because I don't want to believe that Flit and Fame are frauds. So I don't want to believe that Flit is a fraud. But based on how the year basically elapsed behind us, it was
Yeah.
hard not to identify him as a weakness. So
Yeah, it was ugly towards the end. It was really ugly. But you're right about the CT part. Shut up. Those annoying dickheads going over that bridge way too fast. But no, the point I had, like, I was watching Flamus play outside on train with Electronic, and I'm like, there's actually some really like clear idea of how they're gonna play off each other, like taking it turns essentially, like I'm baiting you, you're baiting me, like time and time again, like alternating in a very satisfying way. And I was like, that seems pretty cool. That specifically. T side it still feels a bit loosey goosey, kind of like who's gonna hit a headshot? Let's have some fun.
yeah,
There's no
fish
like,
for a kill, and we'll figure it out from there.
yeah, there's no beautiful set executes. We're not like seeing, oh man, one of the most beautiful rounds of CS from last year, right at the end, is the Stanislaw Inferno call where he straight out spawn calls a B split that primarily is based off like a smoke to cut off like sort of the view from library and just go through into CT. That was just so stunningly executed. And just as an idea on paper, it was just perfect. It's like they've been heavy on short the entire game. You know, and when they've not been pressuring banana, there's been this huge gap essentially for us to just hit. And it was so glorious. And then you watch VP play, you're like, so this is the complete opposite. Nothing seems planned. We're just kind of doing shit. Yeah, the antithesis of beautiful CS.
It's CIS. It's been the CIS style for a while. It's just like default into thing, and if default doesn't work, unlucky. We'll try our best to make it work, or old VP would save. You know.
Yeah, that's the old VP would save. Other CIS teams when it's gone terribly wrong have just everyone just dies.
Yeah, just int it. Yeah.
Yeah, they just int, and that might be the new VP. If it doesn't really work, they'll just be inting. That's like everyone's like, I can bring back a 4v5. I can bring back a 3v5. I can bring back a 2v5. Eventually, just everyone's dead. Like that might be the way, but they have the talent for it to. I think occasionally give us a highlight, right? That'll be the reality of it. They have so many riflers.
I have been doing some co-streams with Trav, our guest for the play-ins, and to be honest, the conversation we had about Electronic is that Electronic is actually just missing a lot of shots that, you know, if you were thinking about Electronic a year ago or a year and a half ago, you would have said, he gets that kill, but he's missing it. Like he's over flicking, he's like super shaky. He misses, he fails his duels in ways that are totally just due to like individual mechanics. It's not he's getting flashed off the angle and he's having to switch back, or you know, there's three people that all face him simultaneously. He's aiming on people and aiming off them very often, and it's just over flicking or overreacting. So I wonder if that's partially his brain having to churn more information in and out. You know, you're maybe a bit more nervy, or you're not as focused on your fights. But you know, as much as I want to believe that this team basically has 5 firepower type pieces, Electronic isn't really considered one. And IC is kind of a half stop. I think he can be at times, and then other times he's just at that baseline, which is fine. Which is fine enough if the other pieces are there.
Yeah, the problem with Electronic is he has a terrible series to start off the plane, and then Saw's a layup, but then he also plays pretty well against MIBR, a far tougher team to actually mechanically shine against than Saw. So overall, you're like, maybe he's starting to get back into it. Maybe he's starting to get the hang of it towards the end there. So I agree. If you just watched up until the Pain series where they get bodied, you're like, Electronic is just not Electronic anymore. Like, he's just a guy. But overall, he does come out the other end looking pretty favorable. So, I don't know. We'll see how he plays. That's going to be the big player to watch, I think, for VP, especially. And I love how I in my notes for this timestamps, I've called this the rest, but we've just talked about VP. But that's fine. Virtus.pro, it's the double swing. It's an iconic part. At some point, they had to come up.
Yeah, my favorite team at one point. So,
yeah, not that they played like it. You know what? Furia. I want a quick, just a heat check? Like, what's the temperature at?
They
Like,
beat Imperial FE in wildcard, and they almost lost to Imperial FE on Mirage with bubble.
which was embarrassing. Holy fuck. Like, to be real, if you watch their T half, like what they're doing, the way it's so lazy. It's so sloppy. It's like they've checked out. They're like, oh, okay, we've beaten them. After a 9-3 CT half.
They thought they'd already won. Well, whereas Imperial FE, you know, if you play lazy, they're actually like the perfect kind of team. You know, the best demonstration of like they build crossfires, they play off each other. Like when it is an execute, when it is something that they have rehearsed or practiced, that's actually their best scenario. Is that they know what they're supposed to do or how they're supposed to counter react. They've been in that 100 times.
Yeah, their comms are great, and like you see, it's like if you execute on them, the anchor knows to delay. The rotating player coming in knows which angles to hold are going to be best for how the anchor plays. They're a team who are well rehearsed, well like prepped, and they are also quite confident in their ability to just lock you down in terms of, especially for site take. And that's what they did again and again and again. You just see Cat Cat anchoring sometimes got these kills on the CT side. I'm like, how? She hit some bangers, but like she's just there, and Ana knows when she arrives, she's going to hit this shot at this angle because that'll be offered. She's going to go into this angle off the back of it, wait for the initial fight to happen with Cat, then trade. And it just time and time again, it's like they were following a script. They knew exactly how to do everything. Plus, they had the little details right. Like when the smoke starts fading, they're jiggling. They're not just sat in the corner waiting to, I'm just going to shoot her in the head. No, they were aware of how the game should be played and played like they were trying to win, like desperately. And Furia just embarrassed themselves, really. Again and again on Mirage. When it came to that T side, it was awful. So, yeah, they got it done in OT, but... And Dust 2 was a slaughter, but that first map was embarrassing.
Also, I mean, they played against a wild card that, to be honest, I thought based on the way that wildcards seem to be playing, especially Jaba at this tournament, I thought maybe they could really test them, and they did. You know, I mean, really impressive first map from wildcard. They lose rather impressively as well on Dust 2.
Yeah, it was a weak
but then
Dust 2.
Then that nuke was a little back and forth where honestly you didn't know how rounds were going to play out, as it was so chaotic. I mean, like side executes where they're sort of disregarding outside control, and players are getting wrapped heaven, and you know you still had these like crazy multi kills come out of nowhere from Kisarado or Jaba, and it was a very, very back and forth series. So in a way, you know, there were two close calls for Furia within their group, even though they had, I guess, on paper weaker opponents to face than some of the other contenders going into the Katowice stage 2. So
for me, to be blunt, Furia and Wildcard are about on the same level. Like in terms of the Counter-Strike I expect to see played, they're about on the same level. Not in terms of specifics, like, you know, I think Wildcard will be way stronger tactically, and they're going to have way better XX and foundational stuff. And then Furia are going to have the better individuals who can pop off, and they're going to be able to have moments of like team counterplay, like just late round things where they'll figure it out.
I'll just clarify. I don't mean like when I say weaker teams to play, I mean relative to some of the other opponents that people could have had. Yeah,
they could have faced honestly, a heroic prior to them shit in the bed. They could have faced like that top bracket, which was Liquid, Heroic, and Eternal Fire, plus one more who had to get slaughtered. Like, that's just rough. That's just a rough group to have to be stuck in. Whereas Furia, they did get to play Imperial FE. They did get to play Wildcard, who are, I'm still a big fan and still think they have a great potential, like a great level to reach. They're still a lot easier to face just than a 3D Max, you know, than honestly the way they played this event, almost a Big who were in their group.
Yeah, well, Wildcard dominated Big, right?
Yeah, they ditched Big, and I was just like, Big are dead, and then Big just came around and just. Yeah, the power of beating up on women, just let them fuel themselves and smash heroic.
Yeah, well, don't try that one at home.
Yeah, lads, if you got a boxing match, do not tune up with a... Yeah, no, anyway, before that joke goes too far, we'll just time out on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's, I think we'll wrap up the episode as well. I've got a lot of things to be getting on with as well, and hopefully we can get this uploaded and released fairly quickly, so it's not too dead and buried by the time everyone watches it. Let's put it that way. But right, if you enjoyed, please leave a like, leave a comment telling me your thoughts on any of these picks and any of the picks we left just available to you. maybe you'd have liked to take Falcons, despite the fact that they got absolutely bodied by Eternal Fire. Personally, you never would, but hey, we never know what you guys are thinking. Sub if you want more content. And for members, there is obviously a bunch of content already there. There's a contributor discussion coming out next week whilst I am on holiday. So don't expect full prospect demos because I will be gone completely. But there will be something coming out. So look out for that. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.